Welcome to Through the Trauma podcast. My name is Amber Larkins, published photographer, storytelling expert, visual artist, entrepreneur, speaker, and coach. This podcast was born from one question: how do I get inspiring stories of triumph out to the people who need to hear them the most? Come with me, enter my world, where lives are getting changed, heroes are getting developed, and greatness is being achieved. And we are back with another episode of Through the Trauma podcast. I am Amber Larkins, your host, and I have with me today Miss Amy Sutter, or better known as Sutter Girl. Now, Amy has been a friend of mine for quite some time. We met through the fitness industry at a show, or I think it was a show or a conference. Anyway, she has an amazing business of inspiration. She inspires people on a whole nother level. And now she is doing some amazing things all within the fitness space and wellness and just helping people really take hold of their lives. And it's an amazing to have followed her journey these years. And I'm excited to talk to you today, Amy. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, I know we've been trying to get you on the show and it's just been kind of missing or whatever, but here we are. Yeah. So without further ado, now you have some amazing things. You have a brand that is like no other. We were just chatting about it before we jumped on here. But why don't you give us a little bit of kind of your bio and what you are, who you are, what you do, and what sets you apart?
Well, since we were talking about the fitness space, I'll kind of start there, I guess. Fitness found me back when I was entering my senior year at Clemson University. And I happened to catch a side glance of myself in the mirror. And I was like, whoa, girlfriend, those freshmen 15 have done stuck and hung onto your butt. You better do something to get lean so you can get a job. Get ready to graduate from here. So I'd always been into sports, but sports, organized team sports, are just a different thing from fitness, right? And so I found, your listeners and yourself may be familiar with this long-standing brand, Jazzercise. So I started going to Jazzercise, and after consistently going for a handful of weeks, wasn't seeing the results. And so I went to the franchise owner and lead instructor, Verna, and I'm like, Verna, help a sister out here. I don't know how to do this thing, but I'm trying and I'm not seeing it. And she just took me under her wing, set me up with some guidelines, and helped me to reach my goal of leaning out before I graduated. And I'll just share with you, I did score my dream job before I even graduated. So it really turned out good. But that experience, unbeknownst to myself at that time, really instilled within me a deeper desire than I was aware of to pay that forward somewhere down the road. And the circumstances of taking that dream job in a small town where I got an apartment right across from the Y, and there wasn't anything else to do with my spare time but go to the Y and do all the classes and keep up the fitness routine I had started, I met my next fitness mentor, who was my encourager to become a group fitness instructor. She's like, girl, you hear all the time, you got the potential, you just need to go get your certification and do this thing. So right as I was starting my career in graphics, which was my background, graphic communications, the printing industry, I'm an artist, both graphic and painting and drawing. But anyway, she encouraged me to do that. And so next thing I knew, I started my fitness career at the same time. So I've had these tandem careers running side by side since basically 1993. So I've been here a minute.
You know what's funny about that it's funny that you bring that up, because I've often thought of fitness, it is an art form. And I know I think when you get into truly altering the body in ways of like bodybuilding or fitness or competitive, competing on stage, where you start to really transform the body and you can put muscle on in certain areas, you can cut down in certain areas, you're constantly trying to get more ripped and cut and then put more muscle on and then pull back down. It's like this whole process. And it's really an art form. And if you think of the physique is
Yeah.
very
Oh yeah,
artistic.
I've always looked at
It's
like the two anatomies. I mean, it's amazing, especially when you get into bodybuilding like you and I did. When you look across a stage of females or a stage of dudes and you see the differences in their physiques and what they were able to do to manipulate their body to get there, it's like living sculpture. And from an artist perspective,
it
that's
is.
why I've always had an appreciation for the sport. It's just amazing. They're like statues up there.
Yeah. This is why I love photography. You know, I was photograph fitness. I still photograph fitness, and it's one of my favorite genres to photograph. It's one
Right?
of the hardest to photograph because you have to have everything just right. But being able to really carve out the shape of the muscle and the cuts inside of the muscle and being able to utilize light to do that, it is an art form. And I love looking at
Mm-hmm.
physiques. I'm intrigued by it. I'm amazed that people can actually do that with their physique. I'm even more amazed when I see
Right.
my own physique changing because it's like,
Right.
oh my gosh, I can manipulate this by what I put into my mouth, by the activities that I do, and and you can fine tune it. That's
Mm-hmm.
the crazy thing.
But yeah, fitness was also a creative outlet for me because this was back in the day, right before the internet. Okay. And so I was developing all my choreography from, the mentorship that I got. And then based on what I had as base foundation of knowledge, then it really got my creative juices going in a different way. And I'm musical, I grew up singing and playing piano. So the music aspect and putting the movement to the music, and making it fun, all of that was really probably why I enjoyed it so much, because it's as much as it is a physical activity, it's also a creative outlet for me.
Your energy is just infectious. Like it's you have great energy, and it's just amazing. It's always
Thank you
uplifting to
so
be around
much.
you.
That I take that as
Um,
the highest compliment I could ever get. So really, I don't take that lightly.
well, I don't just pass out that compliment to anybody, but it truly mean that with you, Amy. And one of the things I've been watching over the years is you do this rap.
I
You
do.
rap, and listening to you, it is uplifting in so many ways because you have obviously life is not easy for anybody. I mean, we all, as human beings, we all go through things. And I know we're going to talk about
Right.
adversity today, but being able to still be positive in the face of, the different day-to-day things of life, and it's really inspiring. And I always truly appreciate people that can stay so positive and such at such a high frequency even in the face of different adversities and different things that's happened throughout life. So I want to get into all of that, and I know you might have a little treat
Maybe
for
so.
us at the end. So stay tuned. So you've gotten into fitness, you're doing these group classes, and take us from there.
We just mentioned we're going to talk about adversity. So I just want to kind of go a little bit before that segment of my life, actually way before that segment of my life, to kind of lay the groundwork as to some of the adversities I faced at an early period in my life. And that goes actually back to when I was 11 years old. So back in 1981. And it was, as you're talking about trying to stay positive in the midst of adversities coming at you, because we all have them. Um, even myself, I'm doing my best, but I have moments, right? This isn't the energy I'm doing. I'm trying to spin it so we can all get uplifted and myself, bringing myself really along with everybody. But that's why I do it, because all these things I do are really reflecting back to what I need to be able to maintain that positivity. But in this particular year in 1981, I faced a trifecta of adversity. My parents were in the midst of divorcing, and on that Thanksgiving, we always went to my uncle's farm, rode his horses, that kind of thing. Well, for whatever reason, he decided to put me on his horse, Bandy Sue, who was not completely broken yet. And the next thing I know, Bandy Sue is throwing me off her back, and I'm getting broken. I broke my arm, and we were headed to the emergency room. which was about an hour from where we were. So that happened on Thanksgiving. And just a couple weeks later, the Thursday before Christmas, my father was killed by a drunk driver. So that one kind of topped the other two, but to have all those things happening in a pretty condensed period of time was a rough patch, no doubt. But what was interesting is that I actually was given a glimpse of what was to come with the broken arm aspect of those three adversities. Because when we were riding to the emergency room, I saw a vision that I had dreamt like months prior. And I mean, I remember waking up and I'm like, that was really interesting. So I knew it wasn't like deja vu where they say your brain gets ahead of your thoughts or what. No, I had dreamt this, I had seen it, and now it was playing out. But I had no idea what the circumstances were. But basically the vision was I knew I was in a car in the back seat. My mom was in the back seat and that a man was driving. And I was looking out my mom's side of the car and saw a fence line that just kept going. Well, that was our ride to the hospital. And then a couple weeks later, when this more severe of a tragedy took place, what's unique and amazing to me is that the young man, this was a senior in high school, who had gone to a Christmas party and had been playing quarters and just made a really bad decision. And nobody stopped him from making it. And he ran a red light and took my dad's life. But he and his pastor requested to come visit my mother and I for him to apologize. And I can't even imagine the amount of courage that took for him to come face us. And I don't remember what happened in that conversation. Obviously, that was so many years ago. But what I do remember is right when they left our house, saying to my mom, he was cute. Like, I guess my young mind was like, only a monster could have done this. You know what I'm saying? And I think that the fact that he did decide to come visit us is why I've never held any bitterness against him. But the silver lining that came out of this tragedy that continues to help people even through to this present day is that my great uncle and my cousin, who were both practicing lawyers, really encouraged my mom to seek justice for this negligence. And that ended up going to the Georgia Supreme Court and creating a brand new law that actually helped victims of these, the surviving family members of these circumstances. So it's even in the handbook of my high school that I went to now, as, just to keep parents aware that this is why you really need to educate your kids on staying sober and not, getting into vehicles otherwise. So that was kind of a silver lining. And, those are some pretty steep things to go through all at one time. And then fast forward, you're thinking, okay, how much adversity is somebody supposed to experience in their life? And when is too soon? When is, how soon should you get it? How late in life does it matter? Do you have a quota? I mean, I'd kind of like to have a quota that we get through it and then it's passed, but that's not really the way it works, right? It's not a matter of if adversity is going to show up. It's a matter of when. And so as my life progressed, I faced several others, and I'm not going to go through all of those, but I'll get kind of to the one that brought me to the bodybuilding part of my path. And that was years later. I was 37. I just finished my master's up in Pratt in Manhattan. I'd been transferred from the Southeast up to the Northeast with a job opportunity. And after graduating, all my classmates were from all over the world. And one of mine, who was from India, was like, hey, I'm going on an extended family vacation. Would love for you to come join us in India. And I was like, happy graduation to me. If you're not kidding, I'm coming, So had a great trip. I'm pinching myself as I'm standing there on 7/7/2007 looking at the Taj Mahal. You know what I'm saying? And but I got back, had my 37th birthday, just a couple weeks later, and the next thing I know, I start having crazy chills, body aches, felt like somebody had beat me from head to toe. End up having my first ambulance ride to the hospital and in kidney failure, and having 15 days spent in a hospital having every test imaginable run on my body with them trying to figure out what was going on, because every test kept coming back pristine when everything was not kosher, not right at all. And they never did, from a Western medicine, formally diagnose me. They basically stabilized me and gave me a pat on the back and said, good luck. So my homeopathic doctors figured out that I had some parasite issues that, they weren't going to show up on any of those tests. But so going through that adversity was obviously, it was a life-threatening illness, was not a whole lot of fun. But I wanted to find a way, as I was coming back and recuperating from going through that, because my body, even though I had not had a surgery, it felt like I had. My body had gone through some really severe trauma. And I wanted to find some kind of event that would help me get back to my fitness level and get back to my stamina. And I was like, you know what? I went to school in New York City. Let's get in. Let's try to get into the New York City Marathon. And obviously I wasn't looking to win it. I was just looking to experience it as my stronger comeback. And when I didn't get in through their lottery process, that's when I switched gears completely. And when I say completely, I had gotten to where I could run 16 miles straight, and then got the news that, hey, you're not a candidate for this year's marathon. But I'd always appreciated the sport of bodybuilding from an artist's perspective. We were talking about it, being like statues on a stage. And so I was like, okay, totally switching gears. And you know what I mean by that, because you don't run long distance and hold muscle. So it changed the whole thing up.
Right.
And that's when I decided to do my very first bodybuilding event. And I caught the fever for the sport. I had great coaches, a great team of people. Just, there are so many great people in that sport. It's so encouraging. But what's crazy is that I went from true novice, I didn't expect to be one and done, but I had no idea it was going to become an 11 consecutive year journey, where I then became the state champion of South Carolina and ultimately became a professional bodybuilder in 2018.
The thing with bodybuilding too is there's so much that goes into the mindset and the intentionality that you have to do to become a competitor and to even step on stage. And you don't even have to be on pro level or even national level, or even in condition to actually win a show. I don't care if you step on stage, you have done some work.
That's right.
To get there. It's amazing when you see someone that has taken that to the fullest level, and the things that you learn and grasp about yourself through that journey. So with you, obviously this kind of catapulted you into the things, because you're well into the fitness industry now, and you even help people inside of the fitness industry. You train.
Right.
What was your experience with that, as far as the mindset and the different shifts and the different evaluations that you had to do to get to that level?
Well, again, the good Lord brought me the best people. Actually, they're a coworker who they'd worked with her brother to help him compete. That's how I found them. And so I would say you've got to have the right people that you're working with that have good energy too, right? And are going to take you through the process in the most positive, healthy way. So I was very fortunate to get this husband and wife team as my coaches. And they had a really good, solid amount of, even though it's an individual sport, we had a team of people that were all going to various stages, but some of us, and when I say stages, literal stages we're going to compete on. But the way I looked at it, again, kind of my positive outlook on anything, and just the excitement of this new journey, I was like, look, I've hired these coaches who know how to do this. Like, I was from the fitness realm, but I had no idea what it took to lean out to reveal the muscle you have, right? But so that's why I really needed them. Plus, I had no idea how to pose right, all those things. So that was why I needed them to guide me along the way. But I think most people, what becomes challenging is the what I call fuel plan, because I think diet's a dirty 4-letter word that actually stands for did I eat that? But anyway, the food part of it, right? It has to be very disciplined. But I looked at it as, because I'm a big time foodie and I watch Food Network, I looked at it as the show Chopped. Here's my basket of ingredients. And it allowed me to once again be more creative, because I'm like, okay, here's what I've got. What can I do with it? Because I got to keep this interesting for myself, but stay on point. And I, again, wanted to take people along this journey with me. So I started a blog. It's still out there on WordPress, but I haven't added to it since then. But I actually took people along the journey, all aspects of it. I only posted pictures of progress like once a month through like this 13 weeks of prep. But again, embracing the process and having that kind of energy as you approach something new, so that you're more open to go with the flow and not white knuckling fighting it. I really enjoyed it. I love contest prep. And I wasn't about to isolate myself for 13 weeks and not go out to eat with my friends or do any of those kind of things. So I just made sure I was prepared to still go out. Maybe I ate before. Maybe I just looked at the menu ahead of time at the restaurant, made sure they had what I needed. But, those kind of approaches, again, it's all here. It's that mindset, but having that foresight to say, okay, well, this is my big goal that I am going to accomplish. So I just got to get all these other things in alignment to that. If it's not in alignment, then we have to shift it to get it there. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of my approach.
What you're describing there, I mean, I know we are talking about fitness and we're talking about dieting and we're talking about the food plans and things like that. But the underlying thing that you're really saying here is the mindset of discipline, the mindset of setting a goal and working towards that goal and readjusting and redefining that goal, that the process until you get to that goal.
Right.
And this applies to every area of life.
Yes.
And I think this is why. So I don't know if you knew this, but there for a while, I did a series called Transformation Through Trauma, which was photography sessions where we would photograph like the trauma and then we'd photograph the triumph.
Yeah.
And actually the podcast was kind of spun off of that. But how I even began to come to this idea was because I was working with athletes, fitness people that needed photographs, and they would open up to me and share these traumas that fitness had helped them overcome. And then they would talk about where they're at today. And it's such a beautiful transformation story that I'm amazed by transformation. First of all, I love, just as in the physique, you see the transformation from starting a prep to walking on stage. There's a huge transformation. But in life, there's a huge transformation. If we allow that to happen in our lives, there's this huge transformation of, I started here. We could apply this to adversity. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about this or your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
But if you have adversity, but turning that into something, or deciding that you're not going to let that get you down, you're going to thrive from that. And that's a transformation from being hurt and broken and sad or depressed or whatever, to then overcoming that into something else. And the transformational journey it's beautiful if we embrace it. But I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts about how fitness is aligned with the transformational journey? And even though we're talking about fitness, it applies to so many other areas of life.
It actually seeps into, even all those years competing, it was impacting my entire life, right? That wasn't just one silo of my life. And it increases your drive, your determination, your discipline, your faith. I'm a faith-based person, and I believe that God guided me through all those things. and gave me the strength to get through those things. So you've got to still keep that focal point. But it does make you stronger in all aspects of your life. So really, when I was looking at the different adversities, the main adversities, looking back through my life, the what came to mind was that adversity was not my adversary. Actually, adversity was my ally, because every time I faced a new adversity and got through it, through the good Lord's help, through encouragement of friends, through just the keeping that spirit of I'm going to come out stronger. Again, the mindset of that, I'm not going to let this defeat me. I'm going to get past this and become a stronger person as a result of it. That just continued to build my resilience to then prepare me for the next adversity. Because I think we were talking before we hopped on and started recording that it's not a matter of if, but when adversity is going to show up in your life. And it's how you respond to it that is going to bring it so that it's your ally. And I kind of like to use the analogies, I was dealt this hand of cards, and, we've got to determine our strategy and how we're going to play them. And really what I've come to find out is that adversity is my ace in the hole. And again, when you really take a collective perspective of your adversities and how you got through them, which I really encourage people to do. There's only a couple times in life situations that I look backwards, but I look backwards at them to see how God got me through them. So I know He's not going to drop me now. He's going to get me through the others to come.
One thing I was thinking when you were talking is that diamonds are really formed under pressure. And I think that sometimes when I look at even fitness, and I've thought about this a lot inside of my own adversity and the things that I've gone through, that, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Right. And I wrote this on my mirror when I was going through my divorce. And I truly believe that it's just like our muscles grow under pressure. We go into the gym, we're lifting, those muscles has to break in order to grow. And if we look at things, adversity or things that happen in our life as the same thing, what are those things forming in us? They are forming resilience, which you mentioned. They are forming a sense of strength, because when you're able to handle that, it's almost like you pass the test. Now you got to move to the next level. And you're growing in the process. And that's really what life is about, is learning to grow. And it's unfortunate that we have to grow through sometimes hardships, but I have seen my most immense growth through hardships and through adversity in my life.
Totally agreed. But here's the thing, if you're in your comfort zone, you don't have the inspiration to need to, or the thought that you need to change anything, because everything's just smooth sailing. So really, when I set challenges for myself, I really am seeking out the uncomfort zone, because that is, to your exact point, where we experience true growth, true personal development or professional development. But that's where we become the next best, stronger version of ourselves. And I'm always striving for stronger, because I believe that that's what we're supposed to do. And that's what I want to do, is encourage others to do that. And I halfway jokingly tell people, I said, look, I want to help you become the next stronger version of yourself, so that A, you don't shortchange yourself, but B, so you don't shortchange me. I want to benefit from whatever it is that you're supposed to become stronger as a result of. Because I believe that we have all been given natural born talents and strengths, and we are equipped with experiences, or at least an ability that surpasses some others, that I believe is miraculous, that allows us to be able to do the things we do at a different level than others. But we still have to hone those skills to become even better at them. But then we're not supposed to keep it to ourselves. We're supposed to share that with others. And that's why actually starting what I believe is a new version of speaker. I mean, you hear inspirational speaker, you hear motivational speaker all the time. But I believe that motivation is a self thing. Yes, you can get inspired by others and their story if they share it. And because they were able to accomplish certain things, you're inspired to apply that to your own life. But motivation is a self thing. That's why you usually see it as self motivation. But now what I'm coining is when I share my story, I'm presenting myself as a shared strength speaker to share our strengths and our stories so that we can help each other get through their adversities. But beautiful
Mm-hmm.
things come out of those shifts. And what's neat and another observation from that collective perspective of my life adversities are trajectory shifts in your life. Like you're heading this way, boom, something happens. Like I was heading this way with the illness, thought I was going to try to run the marathon, it was a no. But again, no's aren't all bad. It shifted me to then get to bodybuilding, which had this whole journey for me that I had no idea. And because of that journey, after the very first season competing, I decided with my new goals that I needed some kind of positive visual trigger to keep myself motivated toward my next goals that I was setting for competition. And so I know you have some viewers who can watch this, so I'm going to kind of put this up here. I wear this necklace and have worn it ever since that first season of competition. But I had 3 sterling silver charms in my jewelry box, and I tied them to a black leather cord. And one is a cross that a friend of mine from Clemson who became a missionary gave me. The middle symbol is a Navajo symbol for the fire within that I bought from a tribe member during a trip to Utah. And the third is a barbell that was part of my first overall win when my lightweight self took out the heavyweight, won the whole thing. So I put those on there, but my message or mantra to myself of those 3 symbols was you've got to have strong faith and the fire within to build true inner strength. And when I say inner strength, I'm talking about in your mind and in your heart or soul. And that necklace became a conversation piece in and out of the gym. And I called it my Mojo training necklace. And every time I'd share that story with people, they'd say, same response every time. You should do something with that. You really should do something with that. And I might be slow to take in a message at times, but after countless times, I literally looked up at the sky and was like, okay, Lord, I'm going to do something. And that's when I started thinking about, okay, I call this my Mojo training necklace. It is a motivator for me personally to reach my goals. And they weren't all just pertaining to bodybuilding, but that was what gave me the inspiration. And with that, I blended Mojo, which again, I take as your natural born talents and strengths that you're gifted with, and motivation, blended the 2 together to come up with my business name of Mojo Tivation. So, and now that whole premise is to help people become their next stronger version of self, mind, body, and soul. Because again, we need to be properly fueling all 3. We've got to fuel our minds, we've got to fuel our bodies with actual decent nutrition, and we have to fuel our soul, which again, that stems to our natural born talents and strengths, our natural gifts, are the things that, you're doing them and you lose sense of time while you're immersed in them. I mean, those are the things that to me are really what a total transformation is all about. The aesthetics will come. Obviously, in bodybuilding, the aesthetics have to come. That's what you're doing, especially if you're a competitor. But when I'm working with folks, that's not my focal point. My focal point is let's make you the strongest version of yourself on all 3 fronts: mentally, physically, and spiritually.
I think what you're referring to here, like what I'm hearing you say, is finding your destiny. And whether people believe in destiny or not, I truly do believe in destiny. I believe we're all created in those natural abilities and strengths that you spoke about, where I was given my natural abilities and strengths, you were given yours, because there is a task while you're here on this earth that is, the
Right.
time here is short in comparison to eternity,
Yeah.
if you believe in eternity, if you believe in the
Yes.
afterlife, and I do, and I know you do, that there's a destiny, there's a thing that you have to do here. And just as, everybody is given a body, you're given a body, and with competing, you fine tune that body, you get it in the optimal condition, with
Right.
muscular strength and the rips and the cuts and the leanness. But it's the same. It's fitness. It amazes me because you can apply it. It's the physical representation of so many things that are, I don't know if you would say spiritually happening or like psychologically happening, but it's so true that I can optimize my physique, but I'm also here to optimize my, like you said earlier, hone in on those abilities and those strengths that God has given you to fulfill the thing that he's put you here to fulfill. And it doesn't make you better or worse than another person. And this is also why I think it's so important to embrace uniqueness and individuality, because what God has equipped me with is different than what he's equipped
And
you
thank
with. It
God.
doesn't make
Yeah,
us
and thank
better or
God for that,
worse.
right?
Right, exactly. And even the things that, scripture talks about, the desires that he's put into our hearts, even the desires that he's put into your heart versus someone else's heart versus my heart versus whoever's listening's heart, like those things are
Yeah.
all to be embraced. And I feel like when you can tap into that and you can shift a perspective to where you start to see those things, it makes it makes everything come to life to where you can then truly grow and thrive.
And
That's
I
right.
believe our natural born talents and strengths are, because it's not going to be just here it is, right? You do have to kind of discover it. But those are the hints, those are the strong indicators as to what your purpose is. But we have a choice. We're not puppets.
Mm,
We have a choice. Are we going to embrace that and really pursue finding that, or are we going to do our own thing? And what's really cool
that's
though
right.
is when you start to embrace it and fulfill your purpose in ways that you had no clue. Like I had no clue how bodybuilding, that it was going to even impact my life at all. God is in the details. It blows my mind because obviously this is a little minuscule part of what is happening in the world, me, right? And he gave me so many, people call them God winks, if you've heard that term before. But I'll give you a couple different examples that happened during this bodybuilding journey. When I had the goal of becoming state champion, just so I could get this ring on my finger. Okay, which I actually had one of my teammates send me a picture of his because he had achieved the goal, and I had it as my screensaver on my phone. So again, another form of positive visual trigger. And I had it as my screensaver for 3 years until I achieved the goal, right? So these things didn't
Wow.
happen overnight. But I had been focusing on Psalm 19, which is my all-time favorite psalm, which I would recommend y'all. I don't have it completely memorized, but I would recommend, if you haven't read it lately, read it. But guess what? I was actually, after achieving the goal of becoming state champion, I was posting on Facebook, doing a little write-up, thanking my coaches, thanking my people who have encouraged me along the way, had been a part of the journey. And when I posted the picture, I saw my competitor number. It was 19. And I've been focusing on Psalm 19 that entire time. So there, little hint. When I started the journey and decided to do my blog, I called it Chisel Challenge, One Woman Defined. When I became a pro, when I finally, and again, that was a 9-year journey, but 4 consecutive trips down to Miami to nationals, um, with having left 3 times before with the same goal to achieve, which that I think is a harder thing. I like to check things off my list. And when you go down there, you don't necessarily get the results you're after. You just got to know that you can come back stronger the next time, right? It's a different form of adversity. But when I became, and I heard those glorious words, the new FBB pro, Amy Sutter, and they handed me the trophy. I kid you not. It is a figure that's kind of an ivory. It's not really ivory material, but it looks ivory on a pedestal, right? It is of a woman who is chiseling herself out of stone. You can't
Wow.
make these things up. I could go on and on with other stories, but those are just two huge examples where you're being informed that you are on the path you're supposed to be on. Because that fourth trip down there, I mean, I was like highly manifesting, but it was actually, I had relaxed. Yeah, in the, like, I was like, you know what? I know I'm prepared and I've done everything I can do, but I was in my room kind of saying the words and really visualizing it happening and all those things. I even chose Van Halen's song Right Now as my choreographed routine song for that evening, all those things. So I was lining up the best I could with my energy. But it, when I heard those words, it was just, oh, before I got there though, I was like, okay, Lord, listen, I've had this goal, but if I'm really not supposed to achieve this goal, can you just let me know so I can move on to the one you want me to achieve? You know what I'm saying? I just let it go. I was like, look, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but if I'm not, I am willing to let it go. And I think relaxing in that and really changing that mindset is what allowed it all to come together.
Gosh, girl, that's beautiful right there. And it even reminds me as well, like I'm inspired hearing you say that because, as there's things that we try so hard, and I think for myself too, I have a very masculine energy in the sense of like I want to force things
Mm-hmm.
to happen. Um, I just have kind of always been that way. I'm going to set my mind to it. It's going to happen. And if it's not going to happen, I'm going to force it to happen.
I can
and
relate. Yeah.
there is something in letting go though, and it's a daily reminder that I have to remind myself to just let it go, let things go,
Mm-hmm.
let God take control, be in alignment with him in his timing. And it's just so encouraging to hear you say that. And I do think what you're saying about, like, you're describing synchronicities, you're describing seeing all of these signs that's leading you where it's confirmation. He's letting you know you're in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And I think that I've often said that God speaks to us through synchronicities. If you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing a number again and again and again, he's bringing that to your attention.
Right.
I mean, you've heard how people will, Tony Robbins uses this about how, like if you go buy a blue car, you see a bunch of blue cars.
Right.
Like
Right.
there is that, but what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you notice it because of that? Or is it that God is bringing these things to your attention because he's trying to lead you and guide you and give you confirmation as to where you're supposed to be?
Right. Or
And
just affirmation that you are where you're supposed to be. And that
that's right.
is so powerful.
It's so good. And I just hope that it encourages other people, even listening to this as well, that is maybe on the fence or not sure if they're in alignment with their destiny or if they're in alignment with what they're supposed to be doing, to just continue to walk in that and trust, because
Right.
that's what faith is, right?
That's
Trusting
right.
and knowing that even if I take a step in the wrong direction, God's going to recorrect my steps. You took a step. I'm not saying it was in the wrong direction. All
Sure.
things have purpose, all things work together, right? But
Right.
you were going down this path of like running these marathons, and it's like God redirected you. It's like, nope, I'm shutting that door,
Right.
redirect. And look how profound it's been in your life. And look at the person that you are today because of it. And the energy, again, going back to this infectious energy of just when people are in your presence, it's uplifting, it's encouraging, it's motivating, and your business name is for sure in alignment with you for sure. Is it Mojotivation? Mojotivation.
Mojotivation. You got it.
I love it. I love it. Um, so I do want you to talk just a little bit about you kind of alluded to this jewelry that you wear, but you have a business that you make these pieces for people. Is that correct?
So when I first started Mojotivation and finally did something with it, some people said I should. I mean, their inference was I should take this jewelry concept and create other Mojo training necklaces for people based on their goals. At least that's how I interpreted what my to do was. And so that's how it started. I started to source charms and help people choose those charms and create their own necklace. And mine, again, kind of going back to numerology in the biblical sense and just the trifecta. Actually, a triangle is the strongest geometric shape. We process things mentally best in threes. So that's kind of why the three, mind, body, soul, the three. But so I started with that. But again, the whole premise with that positive visual trigger jewelry was to help them build the most important muscle of all, which is your mental willpower muscle. And what's really cool, because there is science behind this, I didn't know that when I first started it, but I decided to dig a little deeper. And once you can assign meaning to anything. It could be this bracelet, it could be this ring, it could be whatever, and whatever that goal is or whatever that mantra is to yourself that motivates you. But what's really cool is that even when you're not cognizantly thinking about it, when your eyes catch a glimpse of it, since you've already trained your brain as to what that message is, every time your eyes catch a glimpse of it, it's reaffirming your own personal affirmation, which is so cool. So there is a good positive aspect to subliminal. I mean, because that's what it is. It's a subliminal intake, right? But then from there, I started sourcing other pieces. So I partner with an engraver, and I've had people, it's this time of year, the new year's on the horizon. People pick a word of the year or a phrase of the year to focus on. So I'll get those engraved. People have put longitude and latitude, like they're going to, climb Kilimanjaro, or they're going to a school or wherever, where the longitude and latitude of that place. I mean, there's so many different ways to give somebody that. I mean, things, I think they call it a talisman or something like that is another way to look at it. But I call it a positive visual trigger to, again, reinforce and encourage, which really helps the determination and the discipline get reinforced to achieve that goal. Because along the way, there are going to be things that are going to try to pull you off course. And I mean, you might have a celebratory moment, right? You're on point. Man, I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, yes. Then there's the times where something's trying to pull you off track, and you take a look at whatever this item is, and you remind yourself that this little tiny moment is not worth giving into that when you've got this big goal. And what's really cool about that, and where the strength comes from, is that when you overcome that obstacle repeatedly, you eliminate the obstacle. That's the strength gain. So it's no longer something that's even going to be temptation or whatever, an obstacle at all.
Girl, that is awesome. I knew your jewelry was cool, but I had no idea it was so profound. That is profound. Now I'm like, I need about 50 pieces of this. I need it for myself, but I also, like, there's so many people that I know could benefit from that, and I truly believe in that. And also, you have this necklace that you're wearing close to your heart, and there's something huge about really putting your hand over your heart and feeling that energy when you're affirming something or talking about something or a goal that you're gonna do, or just even gaining the clarity to know this is what I am put here to do, and really feeling that in a heartfelt moment. So I had no idea that your jewelry was like this profound, but amazing. Tell people where to find this jewelry if they wanted to go get a piece.
It's www.mojotivation.com. And if you can't find it for some unknown reason, find me, Amy Sutter, I'm everywhere, right? Facebook, Instagram. Instagram is @mojotivation. You can always old school call me, text me. All my information's out there, but going to the website where you'd see some of it. Not all of it's on there. You also can find me typically during a bodybuilding season, or even, I go to other sporting events and set up as a vendor. That's when you'll see me live and in person. rocking my booth. But yeah, but so the jewelry was kind of what started the business, and then I added my fitness expertise to it through personal training, group fitness, and I became a fitness nutrition specialist. So that part of it, and again, so I'm doing fuel plans for people is how I use the phraseology or the terminology to talk about really making sure that we're properly fueling the mind, the body, and the soul to get to that total transformation that we were talking about.
And you were telling me right before we jumped on here and started recording about another program or thing that you are kind of launching. You've tested it and it works perfect. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was extremely blessed to be able to build my own studio off the back of my house. And in thinking about that project, which I literally sketched out and handed to my contractors, like, I need you to help me make this. But I wanted it to be a livable space. So it was not just going to be only specific to personal training. So it has its own full bath, kitchenette, and a Murphy bed. And initially I thought, hey, I'll just Airbnb this on the weekends and that'll be, another way to make some revenue and be a smart way to approach this. Plus it could be an in-law suite, whatever. More, utilization of that space. But the epiphany that I had at the tail end of last year was that, hey, how can I really use this to bring about this total transformation that is my goal and why I feel like I'm here to help people. And I was like, the best way to learn anything, and I take this from my immersing myself into the bodybuilding world. I mean, that, it was a long journey, but that first season in particular, I had to really immerse myself into that lifestyle to gain the knowledge and really learn what it was all about. And you cannot get, and again, there's science behind this too. You think about it when you're learning a language, they always talk about fully being immersed in the culture and that kind of thing. So this is a 3-day experience where the client comes and lives in this space, and we do mindset work. They are part of this package, includes their fuel plan, which is a minimum of 3 months. And I've done all their macros and all that stuff for them. And we do the soulful time as well. So we get all 3 aspects covered, but we also we're going out to eat. We're going to show you that you can still enjoy life and have breakfast, lunch, or dinner at any restaurant and still stay on your fuel plan. We also do physical training. They do cardio on their own that's available. And we do the meal prep. So we're prepping. We go to Costco. Well, this is not an ad for Costco, but that's where I go. We go and we get all the food, and then we actually prep it in my home kitchen. So they're my sous chef and they learn how to do this thing. And all that food that we prep, they bring a cooler. They're taking that home with them, which is setting them up for the first week or so of their plan as they, we're building that foundation during that 3 days to really set them up for success as they go through the journey. And then, of course, we're doing weekly check-ins from there and training or however we need to do it, because it's for people who are just looking to really learn about a healthy lifestyle, but it also is geared toward folks who are looking to compete in bodybuilding as well. So I'm really excited about it. Had my first candidate. The good Lord sent me the perfect candidate because she was also wanting to compete for the first time in bikini. And, it was humbling beyond what I had anticipated as we were going through some of the mindset work. She was able to, because she was having this personal retreat, set aside that time to really focus on herself and determine some things that she could apply to her life immediately that were going to, give her steps toward that next stronger version of herself. And when she was willing and open to share that, I really, I'm high empathy. I'll cry at a Hallmark commercial, but I was just like holding back tears. I was like, wow, this is really impactful, and it was what I hoped would be, the outcome, but you don't know these things until you start to do them. So I really am excited to get this. I need to get the word out there more. I've got a little promo piece that I just need to post it, right? But I really look forward to the next opportunity because it was just so amazing, and it was really cool to be a part of her whole journey to the stage. We started that journey the first weekend in June, and then she actually competed in, was it September? Whenever the Upstate Classic was. And I was telling you before, not talk about adversity. This is the first time she's ever going to get on the stage, and they actually physically moved the venue because of Hurricane Helene hitting my area. But she had gotten the mindset right, and she was like, I am getting to Columbia, South Carolina. It doesn't matter. I'm getting there. I'm doing this thing. And it was just so exciting to see the whole journey play out. And she too brought to light that this was helping her in her professional level, on a personal level. She was going to be able to show her daughter better ways to, address a goal, better ways to fuel her body, all the things.
And this is a full immersive experience.
Yeah, so
to
I call it
kickstart
Mojo Immersion.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it kickstarts their journey into becoming their best self, working on those 3 areas, mind, soul, and
mind, body, and soul. Yep.
Mind, body, and soul. I'm drawing a blank here.
Yeah.
But what a great idea. There's a wealth of knowledge out there, but sometimes it's figuring out how to gain that knowledge and what order to gain that knowledge.
Right.
But what you're giving is it's a whole experience to kickstart your journey. So check it out if you're thinking of competing, or you want to get, set your life on that right trajectory. Amy is definitely someone to listen to. Girl, you got such an impressive story, and you've taken this adversity and allowed it to change you in a good way, to transform you in a way that now you're not only have grown to a certain level, but you're truly wanting to give back to others who are also needing to grow. So it's a beautiful thing. And I'm very grateful to know you, and very grateful to kind of follow along and watch your journey as you continue to do these things. And I hope we have collaborations in the future of different things maybe we can do together. But
I would just like to reflect all those words right back at you, because I've seen you take your business as it's evolved, right? And it's in this whole podcast. I mean, it's such a healing thing, and that is, again, back to that shared strength. We all need. There's times when I need your strength, Amber. You know what I mean? I need it.
Well, there's times I need yours. And it's funny. So I think now's a good time to bring this up. But sometimes I can be having a really rough day, and I log on to social media, and Amy does this thing called the weekly wrap up. And this, for those of you who don't know, you want to tell them what this is, Amy?
Sure. I've done some raps over my life. I actually showed up unannounced during one of my coworkers back in the day's birthday at a restaurant, and I was Rudy the rapper, like Rudolph, and I made this whole rap up about, I had antlers, I had the whole thing going on. So it was like old school rapping telegram, which is also a new idea. I'm thinking about doing rapograms. So if you got somebody's birthday coming up or whatever, let me know. But I've rapped presentations in my corporate career. I don't know I love wordplay, and this is just a way, again, for me to get my creative juices flowing. So a handful of years ago, I think it was 2019, I decided that on Fridays, I was going to do the weekly wrap up. And I do pray about it. I'm like, okay, what's the topic? But I'll take requests. So if you got one you need to think about or have put out there, don't hold back. Let me know. But for the most part, they're to get you dancing and just letting go of the week. And you can fast forward through that as much as you need to. But I set it up with a song that relates to the rap. So there is some methodology behind it. But I've been doing it for almost 6 years now. And I've missed a couple Fridays. I've done some throwbacks because I've got a lot of them now. But I know I got laryngitis one time. I was like, my voice is broken, y'all. I need a week off. But yeah. So, and sometimes they're a little bit deeper. They really are meant to be entertaining, get you dancing, get you laughing, and maybe a little bit more deeper thinking. And maybe if it's deeper thinking, it still makes you get a comical or humor side to the deep topic, perhaps.
So do you have a rap for us today?
I do, because since that is kind of what I do, at the end of my talk that I've been sharing bits and pieces of that I have presented in other forums on adversity, I did wrap it up. So if you would like for me to wrap this up, I'm more than happy to, let me get I got to get it all happening here. So
she's got to get in character.
I got to get
this requires
the equipment. It's all about the right equipment. This chain, by the way, weighs 13 pounds, and I'm not joking.
Listen, if you've not heard Amy do a weekly wrap up, you're in for a treat. Okay. So you have to watch the end of the podcast to see this.
That's right. All right. Just prayers that I can remember the whole thing, but I think I've got it. All right. Here we go. The key to overcoming adversity is an embracing with a heavy dose of positivity, realizing God's brought you a strength, gain, and opportunity that no doubt's going to alter your personal trajectory, impacting yourself and others with whom you cross paths, favorably. When you're facing a heavy hand of adversity, having a hard time dealing with this level of intensity, can't seem to see the potential positivity, drop to your knees and pray specifically and seek a trusted source of shared strength immediately. Yes, you see, victory over your adversities doesn't set you up as the sole beneficiary. No, it's gain strength specifically for you to share with your tantalizing, triumphant testimony. Adversity. I ain't gonna let you get the best of me. I'm gonna face you, embrace you, tenaciously overcome you, make an ally of you, and share you so that others are empowered to rise above you, starting up a shared strength continuum from one to another. Oh no, we can't control the cards dealt to us out of the life deck, but we can mentally spin it to win it, even when adversity shows up in it, making living our life positively epic.
That was good. Dropping the mic. She just dropped the mic on us and said, "There you go. That's my podcast wrap up right there." I love it, Amy, because it's such a fun spin on something it's a topic that can be sensitive. It can be heavy, but you spin it in such a positive way, and it's a lighthearted way, and I think it makes it so much more digestible when people can relate and laugh together and be able to be entertained, see joy.
Laughter is truly the best medicine, and beyond that, it's a great ab workout. Okay?
That's right. That's right. I love it, and I love what you're doing, and I love that it's a totally different spin. Like, this gives her brand something that you can't find just anywhere. It's a unique thing that sets you apart out there, and I have no doubt in my mind that I just can't wait to see how far you take this thing and how much God is going to continue to use you in this space of helping people. That's what we're here for.
That's right.
We're here to reach back and help as we've moved through experiences, to help other people move through those experiences.
I think I've actually done a wrap on this, that really the greatness of our uniqueness is our strength, not our weakness. And we, again, are given those unique, quirky traits to set us apart, so that really when we do share our strengths, I think it's received more openly, perhaps, or it's like you said, easier to digest, but it really, the message comes across in your unique way, the way it's meant to be delivered.
It's so true. And I want to inspire everyone who's listening to embrace your own uniqueness. And then I want to ask you, Amy, if you had a specific kind of takeaway or something you really wanted to leave my audience with based on all the things that we've talked about today, what would that be? Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say live your life on purpose. Use those natural born talents and strengths. If you haven't decided yet or discovered yet your personal purpose, use those to help you, give those hints to you, determine what that purpose is, but then live your life on purpose, on your unique purpose. And when you're doing that, you can't help but seek the uncomfort zone. So maybe these are actually 3, but that's how I roll. I just talked about that. So live your life on purpose, which is going to inspire you, and you can't not do this. You're going to then seek the uncomfort zone and become that next stronger version of yourself through your uniqueness, and share that strength with others, because that is exactly what we're supposed to do, to help each other get through this adventure we call life.
That's right. And the Bible says a light hidden under a bushel, I think he says, can't give out light. It can't, it can't reach people. So you have to, don't hide your light that God has put inside of you. Embrace it and get it out there, because you never know the people that you could impact by just opening your mouth and sharing your story. Profound messages usually come with some difficulty or adversity to getting these things released.
You know what? I did have a little bit of a brain. We'll just leave it that my brain got a little shifted in that. So really, number 3 is when adversity comes your way, embrace it and know that you're meant to go through it for some reason that's greater toward your purpose, to just further excel your purpose and be able to share that strength that you gained. So that was really the third thing.
That's right. She has a lot of takeaways, and that's good. Take them to heart, because when somebody starts sharing takeaways, it's like, those are the things I need to really solidify in my mind. Yeah. Amy, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And yeah, I loved having you. And, I look forward to collaboration with you in the future for sure.
Let's do it. 2025. So much to do.
Let's go. Thank you for listening to Through the Trauma podcast. If you have found value in this episode or believe in the mission behind what we are doing, please subscribe so that you never miss any future episodes. Also, be sure to check out our transformation project at transformationthroughtraumaproject.com, where we help inspirational stories get heard on a larger scale through multiple platforms. If you know someone who can benefit from this episode, please share it with them. Until next time.